Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom. Alongside Nathan Drinker, I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder, all our great listeners, we're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. If you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Lots of great things going on in all those locations. Drink, great to be along with you as usual.
Hey, you know what time it is, baby. It's time. It's another fruitful Friday, we up in this thing early. We ready to go. We energized. We say what they want. We see what they don't. Set your dinner plates because it's time to eat. It's Friday. You in here with the drink of wisdom. And last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. What you got for us, Jay?
All right, episode 16 of season 3. Cam is back. OBJ picks his new team, and we'll look ahead to the weekend in college football. We're going to start with that riveting Thursday night football action where the Miami Dolphins pull a pretty significant upset as they win their second straight, and they beat the Baltimore Ravens 22-10 on the short week. The Dolphins started off the game with Jacoby Brissett under center. He was eventually replaced by Tua Tagovailoa. Tua ends up 8 for 13, 158 yards. No running game to speak of for the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson on the other side, he was 26 for 43, 238 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, and Hollywood Brown, 6 catches for all. But the Ravens, 3 points for pretty much the entire game. They did get a 99-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter that made it 15-10. It was 15-3 at that point, but Miami, I think Tua threw a big, 60-some yard pass to Albert Wilson that set up a quarterback sneak for Tua Tagovailoa, and that put up Miami 22-10, and that was about it. Defensive dominated game. Drink. You think this had to do with Baltimore coming off a short week, also playing an overtime game on Sunday, or was there more to this than just that?
Listen, I think it's a little more, man. I think Baltimore has gotten into this habit, or this bad habit of, not playing up to their max potential, playing down to the opponents. And the reason I say that is because when you see them play teams like Kansas City, the Browns, other contenders per se, right? They seem to play with a little more enthusiasm. But then you come out here against the Dolphins, and you come out here against other teams, even the Vikings last week. Like, it's just seeming, I don't know what John Harbaugh got going on in the motivational department, but it just seems like his team they like to come in and mail it in, depending on the spot. Listen, the overtime game, they could have took a lot out of them, and then you traveling from home, now you on the road to Miami. But at the end of the day, like, you can't win the conference like this. And honestly, you might struggle to win the division playing doing this. You got to have some consistency. Not to take away from some points you made some very valid points earlier when we was doing our chalk talk about this, and I don't know why they abandon the run game like they do. I think that run game could be more of an impact instead of the Lamar Jackson show that they tend to roll out. But I think they got to let Devontae Freeman run it. I mean, like you said, he's starting to get into a groove. He's starting to look kind of like the guy that got that big contract from the Falcons back in the day. And then you got Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon ain't really looking like the Le'Veon we remember, but he is out there doing a little more than I remember in the last couple of years. So he seems to be getting his groove. And then, one of the bigger things, and I'm going to get to the defense, but Lamar Jackson he don't look comfortable throwing the ball. And I know it's a myriad of reasons why. But I'm looking at him, man. Listen, he do like a 3-step drop. When he get to step number 2, is a defender in his face. He got to either sidewind it or like try to flick it up. And that's usually a recipe for a disaster. And then, he don't throw the dog. He's capable of throwing the ball down the field with some accuracy. He just don't do it enough. So now, to your point, I looked at the Dolphins' defense. All they do is just line up across the sticks. If it's 3rd and 5, we're gonna make sure the back end of the defense, the safeties and the DBs, just line up to the sticks. We're not worried about him beating us deep. He's gonna throw something short, or he's gonna run the ball, and we're just gonna corral him. That's what the Dolphins did. So it makes me think, if the Dolphins can do that, who the hell else you gonna play that can do that? You're gonna play better teams with better talent and better schemes. You know what I mean? So if you can't move the ball on the Dolphins, you're gonna struggle to move the ball on the Steelers. You're gonna struggle to move the ball on the Browns. Teams you gotta play. Hell, you're gonna struggle to move the ball on the Bengals. You know, you in a division that got 3 very capable defense. We know what the Steelers talking about on the defense. We've been getting warmed up to the Browns defense over the past 2 seasons, and Cincinnati is the up and coming. So I'm looking at that. I wasn't overly impressed. The defense, I don't know, man. That secondary just be up and down. I like what they get out of Anthony Averett. I think he does a really good job. Marlon Humphrey be up and down. Like, I'm starting to notice with him, he a Pro Bowl outside the numbers. He a practice squad inside the numbers. I don't like when you put him on a slot receiver or something inside, he's gonna get beat to sleep. And I mean literally, he's out there on the field asleep. But then when you put him on the outside receiver, he does a lot better. He put him outside the numbers, he does better. Anthony Averett, to me, has been the best DB right now on their roster. I really like how he plays inside and outside, and he gives you a pretty doggone good effort. When he gets beat, it's because that receiver that receiving quarterback did put some magic on it. They put, like I like to say, they dropped a little sauce on it, a little drippy drip, you know. But for the most part, I like what he doing. Calais Campbell, and others with that defensive line, they're not consistent as far as creating pressure. And how I feel about the Miami Dolphins offensive line. I call them the Squid Games for a reason. So if you're not able to wreak enough havoc behind that offensive line, it makes me wonder. Like, I understand any given Sunday, you play it from Sunday to Sunday, I got it. But that does give me a cause of concern. The Dolphins, I'm pretty sure, they're static, second straight win. You start the game with Brissett, Tua comes in. Tua did not start the game because I thought he had this thumb injury that was going to hold him back, but clearly it wasn't worse enough where you couldn't play him at all. He came in, he did some things. Neither quarterback was overly oppressive, but they was good enough to win the game. You don't usually like to have a 2 quarterback set, but if this is how it's going to be with Miami, I guess this is how it's going to be between him and Brissett. Here's the thing. Miami's run game is non-existent. We do know that, right? It's a non-existent run game.
It's dead last for a reason.
And somehow they still move the ball pretty decently. Jaden Waddle made some catches. What's his name? God, I can't. Sharon? I think it's Shaheem. Yeah. Shaheem, there we go. He made some catches. Isaiah Ford, he made some catches. But I don't understand. All right, so Albert Wilson, he had 4 catches for 87 yards. Isaiah Ford, 4 catches for 84. Jalen Waddle, 4 catches for 61. Sharon, 3 catches for 34. How in the hell do you allow all this action to happen and they top runner ran 14 carries for 31 yards in Myles Garrett?
I want to say last week he had 20 for 34 too. So they cannot run the ball.
They can't run the ball. It ain't about snaps. It ain't about, they just can't run the ball. Their offensive line don't allow them. So if you got a team that's one-dimensional, you still let them beat you with the pass? That's what I'm talking about with that defense. That's what I'm talking about. That's not championship level stuff there. And I'm not saying you got to go out here and shut down everybody. But God dog, you have to shut down the Miami Dolphins when they're one dimensional.
You would have thought it would have been a little bit in reverse last night. You would have thought Baltimore's defense would have been able to do to Miami's offense what Miami's defense did to Baltimore's offense.
Right. And their offense can do both. They can run the ball and pass. And Miami still figured it out. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, man, to wrap this up, Baltimore got it. I think they need to find an identity. I think they lack an identity right now. John Harbaugh don't know what he's going to get from his offense from game to game. 2, if you want to be considered a contender in the AFC, you got to do better than this. This is not going to cut it. They have to play their best ball every week and stop playing down to the competition, right? For Miami, I understand people finna say, oh, this is the start. We're going to end the season hot. And you might do. but you're not making the playoffs. But you can end the season hot, give you a good, momentum for season, the next season, where you still gonna have a quarterback controversy and your offensive line still gonna allow people to die. So, warm you up, let you get the hype train started. But all in all, not a good Thursday night football game. One thing I do want to get the Ravens credit for was their penalty situation. I think when I looked at it earlier, four penalties for 20 yards. Mm-hmm. I thought that was impressive. I'm impressed by that. So they only had 4 penalties for 5 yards apiece or something like that when you average it out. I thought that was impressive in today's game. Had to give them that. They did lose the turnover war last night. However, and the crazy thing, they won the time of possession. They won that, lost the turnovers, won the penalty war, and then just pretty much lost everything else. So they lost the game. We'll see how this transpires in the future. I think the Dolphins do have something to build upon, but if I'm a Ravens fan, I am a little concerned now.
I think you got to be concerned with especially that's 2 after a 5-game winning streak. You had a blowout loss at home against Cincinnati. You squeaked by a Minnesota team who, they haven't been that impressive this season. And now this has got to be the most concerning because Miami was on a 7-game losing streak. They beat Houston last week, which who cares?
Right.
These are 2 of the worst teams. 2 of the worst teams in football.
Somebody got to win. Somebody got to lose.
Yeah, and then against Baltimore, I just could not have seen that coming. The bottom line to me that I saw, Brian Flores whipped Greg Roman's behind. In the sense that Brian Flores, I don't know if they have a defense. They probably have a defensive coordinator, but Brian Flores, I think, runs that defense.
Okay.
Greg Roman's the offensive coordinator for Baltimore,
mm-hmm.
and Greg Roman did not have a good night.
Which is crazy.
You're talking about it when Miami's defense at some point they said, all right, we're gonna scratch everything that we're doing, and we're gonna stack the line with 7 would-be blitzers, and they didn't do an all-out blitz every time, but they just showed blitz every time.
Mm-hmm.
And they just lined up their 4 defensive backs basically at the sticks, just spread the field out. Mm-hmm. And Baltimore never could figure it out. They never figured out after Miami went up 15-3, they had a little touchdown drive, 9 plays, 99 yards, where they kind of sort of got going, but it took too long. By that point, the game was over.
So I guess that does create a question in my head, and you might, if a team is playing that, you consider they playing zone, right? Because if the guys are already set in a spot, right, even if they act like they're gonna blitz and they don't come, there's more of a zone because you can't have dudes hanging out by the sticks if you're playing man. Now, my question is Lamar having a problem reading that? Do we think that's the problem? He couldn't pick that up. He couldn't read that's what they was doing.
I'm not. Some of it may have been zone, but I'm not certain it always was because what Baltimore never did. I was waiting for Greg Roman to adjust and do something different. Put Lamar under center. Put 2 tight ends. Run the ball straight at that, and just put a hat on that and try to out physical him. Mm-hmm. Which I think Baltimore is more suited to do that. But I still saw man principles, okay. Even though Miami they weren't running press man. Okay. They were saying, okay, look, we're coming to get you. We're saying you're going to have to get the ball out quick because you're not going to have time. And what you saw those defensive backs do over and over, they played downhill too, just like the guys on the line of scrimmage. So you could just see it was also a case like Lamar was inaccurate. You had balls getting batted down because the Dolphins were doing a good job getting their hands up.
Right.
It was just a disaster, and they never could figure it out. But they would just spread the field over and over with typically 4 guys outside the numbers, or they didn't. I mean, Mark Andrews was in the slot, I guess, but you just had your 5 offensive linemen, your running back, quarterback, and then 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. So you generally somebody's going to get free,
right.
Which means the ball has to get out quick.
Right.
The timing was never there, and I just could not understand why they just didn't get out of that and just look. Put 2 tight ends there. Put your fullback in the game, and let Devontae Freeman get north and south. Because I think he's still got some juice in the tank. I like him in this set. And look, it's just a case like, I think everybody was pretty concerned about Baltimore's running back situation early on in the season.
Right.
With J.K. Dobbins goes down, Gus Edwards goes down. Then you have Justice Hill or whatever, he's down too. So it's just
They don't even play the guy that started for them in the beginning of the season.
Tyson
Williams.
Tyson Williams.
They don't even play him
Yeah,
anymore.
he's not even a factor. So, but even so, they still didn't They still, got some dudes from the scrap heap, and they can still run the ball.
No, Devontae Freeman he's looking more and more. The more snaps they give him, he's looking more like the guy that got signed to that big contract with the Falcons. Now Le'Veon Bell still got some work to do, but like I told you, when I watched them play, I like what Le'Veon. I like he knew I'm this tall. I'm just gonna lean forward, kind of like Derrick Henry almost. Not to the exact fact, but so to your point, when I watched them play Minnesota, it came a point in that game, and it was like in the second half where they said, "Hey, we might want to try a Pro Bowl fullback back here and let him get some action," and that's what they did. What you just said, put in the tight ends. Hey Andrews, we're gonna use you more for blocking than receiving now. They put in Andrews. They put in another guy that I never even seen before. He was clearly the blocking tight end.
Right.
They put him in.
Eric Tomlinson.
I think so. He got long hair.
And those are two guys that last night I really didn't see play.
So they did, and then they put in Ricard. And listen, he changed the game for them against the Vikings. If you can't watch that game and say he didn't, I think they could have did the same thing. So I definitely agree to your point.
Even if you because I know Nick Boyle, he's been out.
Right.
That's their primary blocking tight end. That's
Right.
why they have Tomlinson. But even if you don't want to put an extra tight end, put another lineman on the field. Put your sixth offensive lineman out there and just run the ball at him. I think Baltimore could have out physical them, which is like in their DNA to do, and they just didn't. They just stayed in the shotgun and just almost to okay, we'll just keep banging our head against the wall like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they got turned away repeatedly. And by the time they finally almost kind of figured it out, aided by 2 roughing the passer penalties, I'll say.
Right.
But it was too late. It was too late in the game, and not that it was over, but it was you waited too long. And then your defense was put in a must-stop situation. They lose Albert Wilson when he went in motion,
right.
64-yard gain,
right,
and that was it. They did not figure it out quick enough, and you know how it is in some of these games. You let a team that has no business being on the field with you stick around.
The longer they stick around, the worse it is for you.
And the more confident they get, and the more they start believing,
right.
which is what happened. And I think big disappointment for Baltimore. And then it's to the Lamar Jackson point. I don't think this was as much on him, but this is the difference to me between a Lamar Jackson and a Russell Wilson or a Patrick Mahomes or some of these guys who are elite throwing the football. Mm-hmm. I mean, Lamar Jackson still. I think we've seen some signs. You look at Indianapolis. When they had a big comeback against Indianapolis, he goes 37 for 43, 442 yards, and just a splendid performance.
Right.
But since then, it's kind of been since they blew out the Chargers, which I don't think we saw that coming in that way. I think we saw maybe a shootout. The last 3 weeks they've been highly suspect, and it's looking almost like when they went on that 5-game winning streak. When it was just Lamar Jackson was just the show, it's they're coming back to earth a little bit in the middle where they should be, because the defensive point, you talk about a team that's completely one-dimensional like Miami is, but I don't see, you talk about Marlon Humphrey, but I don't see a lot of splash players on their defense to where Calais Campbell's a big name. But who's the pass rushers that are going to get home? Baltimore strikes me as a team that they have to bring extra people to get pressure, and that's not a great place you want to be in as a defense.
I know, every now and then, the old wily veteran Justin Houston, he could come in there and create something. But no, you're right. It's hit or miss, and then you're asking those cornerbacks to do a lot.
Their defense has not been elite this season.
No, it hasn't.
And so Baltimore, I think people should be concerned, and also the point I want to get to is that's a big loss last night, because I think next week you go to Chicago, you have to win that game, because they have only their game against Cincinnati that they got blown out in is the only divisional game they played so far. So you got coming up after Chicago, you got Cleveland, then you go at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, at home against Green Bay, at Cincinnati, and at home against the Rams and Steelers. I haven't looked ahead. I'm just looking at their schedule. There cannot be a tougher schedule for any other team. That's a murderous road. So when you lose a game like this on the road, I get it, short week, overtime game against Minnesota. That's a game you look back at the end of the season and you say, man, we needed that one. And now you look at Chicago. You beat Chicago, they're going to be what 8-3 maybe. I think.
Well, they're 6-3 now.
So they'll be 7-3.
Right.
But man, that's going to be tough.
Right.
I mean, that's the type of schedule like you'll do well to win 3 or 4 of those games.
The one thing I will say, and because I believe they're playing down to their competition, I hope they go into Chicago knowing, listen, we got to have this game. One thing I will say though, with the rest of their schedule, it ain't no more downplaying the opponent.
No.
There's no more that we can out talent. You can't have that mentality against the Browns because we don't think y'all more talented than the Browns. You can't have that mentality against the Steelers defense for sure because you're not more talented than that defense, right? The offense, give or take, I can give you a few guys, but the defense, no. And then the Green Bay Packers, we know what they're coming with, right? And they're coming to your house. You sit here and let Aaron Rodgers come in there on your house, that's probably a bad omen for the rest of the season.
And then week 17 at home against the Rams. I mean, we see what the Rams are doing out here. They're getting everybody. So
once again, they got that unlimited credit card again. They must have paid it off and not using it again. So to your point, it's tough sledding, man. But I do think if I had to look at this glass half full, I think they will play up to the competition. Now they will be motivated to play better, and this is how you go on one of those streaks when you tend to take everybody else serious on your schedule.
I think in the end, it goes back to Brian Flores beating Greg Roman last night in my mind, but the identity point that you made, they got to rediscover their identity, which to me is quite simple. You line up and run the ball, and then that sets up everything else. If you're trying to make Lamar Jackson a pure drop back guy at this point, I'm not sure we're there yet. But also, to me, it's Baltimore. That's just traditionally they run the football, they play defense. I mean, they got away with Lamar Jackson just doing the old hero ball routine for 5 weeks in a row.
Right.
That way of playing football they won't be successful to where they want to go. I mean, this right now with this schedule, they do well to make a wild card.